This is going to be a real quick video, a little bit of a reaction and some of my thoughts to the Ravens schedule release. Of course, we knew that the Ravens were playing the Titans week 6 in London at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which is a hybrid soccer football field. What I did was I took the season and I broke it up into 3 sections, for me, at least for how my brain sees it. But I know that people normally separate the season into 4-game sections. That don't work now anymore with the 17-game schedule. So I actually didn't utilize a 4-game separator, and I'll explain that here in a moment. The first part of the season I broke up into the first 3 weeks, the Texans, Bengals, and the Colts, because I feel like the Ravens have to come out of this 2-1 at minimum. If you were to come out of this 1-2 with 2 home games against rookie quarterbacks, you'd be disappointed, and I would too. So a couple of comments just about the Texans. A real interesting point that Stacey Van Diver just made in our Discord, in that the Texans, DeMeco Ryans is a head coach. You would presume that he's going to run the 49ers defense, scheme, coverages, etc. So we'll get a look in week 1 at maybe how the 49ers would possibly defend us later on in the season. Then again, I guess you could spin it and you could say the 49ers get a look at how to defend the Todd Monken, Lamar Jackson offense. So look, as far as the Texans, improved roster. From a depth standpoint, the veteran signings they had, love them. The tight end signing from the Cowboys, I think they signed Devin Singletary, the running back from the Bills. So depth standpoint, in my opinion, they've improved the depth, and then the high-end talent that they've gathered as well. C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson in the draft, Shaq Mason at right guard, who they traded for, and then they re-signed him. This O-line is good. Actually, this O-line is very good. DeMeco Ryans, in my opinion, is going to create a tough team. The running back is a monster, Dameon Pierce. Defense is the unknown. Are they going to have the ability to stop the run and the pass at the same time while being balanced without having to show their hand too much and open themselves up to big plays, for whichever one they're not trying to stop? Same kind of goes for the Ravens offense, even though I expect the offense to be consistently dangerous. The offense is unknown at this time. This is a great opener for the Ravens on paper, in my opinion. Clearly, I'd be picking the Ravens, even though I recognize the Texans got to improve roster. Week 2, Cincinnati, wow. It's a tough game, like all of them. The Bengals will be a physical, tactical, strategic, and emotional test. For me, this is a 50-50 game right now, maybe even less because it's at Cincinnati. That's my opinion. You may not think as highly of the Bengals as I do, especially with Jesse Bates and Von Bell leaving. I think there's a wild card here, being that Lamar's going to be healthy for this one, so they're going to have to see him, number 1. Number 2, Todd Monken's offense is still going to be, quote, new across the league. They're only going to get 1 game film of it. And you can't, to me, Lou Anarumo, and I always mispronounce his name, and I should not because he's a great DC. You can't give him 6, 8, 10 films and let him see what you do, when you do it, and why you do it, which part of the field, because he's going to figure it out, and his players are smart enough to figure it out too. I think we got a little bit of an advantage. So when I say it's a 50-50 game, that dynamic could change if Todd Monken, Lamar Jackson, and the Ravens offense comes out of the gate, firing on our cylinders, which I do believe is entirely possible. I still think it's a difficult game because the Bengals are just so tough. Week 3, Indianapolis at home. Stacey Van Diver also made a real cool point that they could be running the Eagles' offense in the event that we see the Eagles in the Super Bowl, with all things go great for the Ravens. So similar to the Texans in that way, that it's a scheme that you may see again with the Texans defense. If it is a 49ers replica, you will see that again with the Christmas game later in the season. Anyway, similar to that game, week 1, I think the Colts will be improved. I have no way to prove it, but I get the sense they're not as committed to being physical with their intentions as the Texans, but I don't know that. I do know the Colts, will not be a pushover offensively. Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson, Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce. Clearly, I'm picking the Ravens here. Even though I really don't like projecting games, to be honest with you, I would say the Ravens should come out of here 2-1 at worst. It's no problem for me if you say I think the Ravens should be 3-0. We should have high standards and hold the coaches and the players to that. Okay, I chose to put the week 4 game into my second section of games, even though normally you would group them in sets of 4, because I think this is just a tough stretch. I'm going to run down them real quick and not be as detailed as I just was. Week 4 at the Browns. It's an AFC North Division road game. Week 5 at the Steelers. Same thing. 7 days after that, you got to go from Pittsburgh to playing the Titans in London at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. 7 days after being in Pittsburgh, that's a tall task. I mean, the Titans are going to be in the same boat, presumably. It's a 9:30 a.m. game. A lot of adjustments there. It'll be a challenge for the coaches, the players, the whole organization to go there and improve upon, the last time they went to London and the debacle against the Jags. I think 2017, but I could be wrong. I think that week 6 moment is big, and I think the Ravens are already looking for it. I'm sure that the logistical people, the scheduling people are already on top of it. The coaches, even though they weren't here, except for Harbaugh, I believe will be pointing towards that game as a way to prove that we're a much better team than last year, and than we were the last time we went to London, and the poor way that we handled that situation. All right, week 7, 7 days later against the Lions, a vastly improved Lions team who has high expectations for themselves. At home, yes, but I think that even that Lions game under normal circumstances is a challenge. And now we're talking about playing the Steelers in Pittsburgh on the 8th, the Titans in London on the 15th, and then the 22nd playing the Lions at home. Man, that's a tall task. Let's review some of the games from last year with this group of teams. We split with the Browns last year. We split with the Steelers last year. I mean, it's the Titans. That third game in this set of 4, as I've organized it, it's the Titans and the Ravens. It's going to be a battle. Harbaugh, Mike Vrabel. There's still guys left over from that 19 and 20, playoff bouts. The Lions are going to win games this year. I personally expect them to win double-figure games in the NFC with their schedule. If you told me right now that the Ravens go 2-2 in that 4-game stretch, I would take it. Now, I understand that we should have high expectations. I just said that about 3 minutes ago, and I'll be fine if someone comments, we should be 3-1, coach. I'm just letting you know, I damn sure don't want to be 1-3. And I think that the schedule was not kind to the Ravens here, in my opinion, even though it's not like we're facing someone off a bye. Or it's not like there's a Thursday night game in here, which I hate Thursday night games. If you've listened to my content, you know that. Point being, this is a very demanding 4-game stretch, and I grouped it this way for the way that I'm looking at the schedule, because the Browns and the Steelers off the jump there being 2 road division games, if you do come out of there 2-0, if you are able to beat Cleveland and Pittsburgh on the road, you get 2 road wins in the division. Presumably, we didn't win the Bengals game in this scenario. You're 2-1 in the division on the road already with 4 home games still remaining against the AFC North. I think you like your chances, even though you got to go to London and face the Titans and then come back home to face the Lions 7 days later. All right, third section here. And I guess I should stop for a moment. I'm only going to go over the first 12 weeks. I'm not trying to have this be a 20-minute video, hoping to do 10 minutes, maybe 12. Through this, so far, through 7 games, 4-3 is possible, guys. If you're 2-1 in the first section, weeks 1 through 3, so you beat the Texans and you beat the Colts, and then you're 2-2 from week 4 through 7. Let's say you beat the Browns and you beat the Titans, and the Lions come into Baltimore and they beat us. They're going to be a physical team. That defense is going to be vastly improved, in my opinion. Let's just say that 4-3 is possible here. I personally don't think it will happen. I'm seeing 5-2 right now, just reacting to the schedule that came out, 2 hours ago. I did a little bit of work on another video earlier about the NFL possibly expanding to Europe. 5-2 to me is what I'm seeing. If they are somehow 6-1 here, that would be amazing, given the next 2 sections of the schedule, only one of which I'm going to talk about tonight, which I grouped as week 8 through week 12. So I'm talking to the only ones that you see on your screen. Arizona, week 8 on the road, on down to week 12 at the Chargers. And again, I'm just reacting to the schedule. I grouped them this way because I feel like the November schedule is demanding, but I'm going to compare this to the 2022 schedule in a way. After the week 6 loss to the Giants last year, the Ravens were 3-3. Now, I think they won 4 straight, 2 of which was going down to New Orleans and beating the Saints, and then going down to Tampa Bay and beating the Bucs. Both of those teams we were just better than. Both of those teams I thought we out-physicaled, except for, a brief stretch in the first quarter against the Bucs. So my point is, this part of the schedule for me is similar to this part of the schedule leading up to week 6 for the Ravens. And what I mean is, wins here, if we can get to 6 wins up through week 9, somehow, maybe even 7, then you're in a great position for the rest of the year. So I'm talking about after going to Arizona, who knows if Kyler Murray will play here, and I understand that Jameson Williams will not be playing probably against the Lions in week 7. I think I misspoke earlier and said week 7 or week 6. But so we're going to miss some talent here even before the season starts that Kyler Murray may not play in week 8, which changes the dynamic. But even if he does play, comparing that Cardinals team to the Browns on the road, the Steelers on the road, the Titans in London, and the Lions at home in week 7, I feel like that Arizona game is one that the Ravens should win, even though it's a road game, and the Ravens and the Cardinals organizations have been linked together for a number of years for a lot of reasons. A very tough stretch, if you ask me, starts in November, and these will be the last 4 games that I talk about. At home against Seattle, I mean, they're young, they're talented. It's Pete Carroll. They re-signed Geno Smith. They've got an extremely talented running back. I hate predicting our record. I really do. I prefer to talk about a range, and it wouldn't surprise me if after this Week 9 game, we were anywhere from 5-4 to 7-2. I think 5-4 would be pretty disappointing, and to me, that would be similar to being 3-3 after 6 weeks last year. Even though I know we're using different barometers, different timestamps. Week 9 this season, Week 6 last year, after the disappointing loss on the road against the Giants. 5-4 after 9 weeks, to me, would put the Ravens in a perilous position, very similar to 3-3 last year, because you have 2 more division games in the next 10 days. Well, I guess not in the next 10 days from November 5th, but from the time you play the Browns at home in Week 10 on November 12th, then you play the Bengals 4 days later, also at home, Thursday Night Football with the Bengals. To me, you've got to go into that Browns-Bengals turn with 6 wins or 7, somewhere in that range. If you go in with 5 wins, we normally split with the Steelers. We just do. We split with the Browns last year, and we split with the Bengals last year. Come on, we can't expect the Ravens to go 2-0 against all 3 of those teams. We've got to admit, as fans with a healthy mindset, it's very possible we sweep one team and we split with the other 2. 6 wins, maybe 7, would be wonderful after Week 9. Coming into that Browns-Bengals turn, then we get a long stretch off, I think 10 days off, I might be wrong there, before playing the Chargers on the road on the 26th. And look, the Chargers are going to be a battle before our bye. And the video is going to be done here because I'm not going to talk about the last set of games. I'm going to do that in a separate video. After these 12 games, if the Ravens were 8-4, would you be satisfied? I think it's possible. I think it's possible that 8-4 wouldn't feel that bad. Could the Ravens be 5-4 and then beat the Browns, Bengals, and Chargers to get there? I just don't see that. I don't see us sweeping 2 division opponents and then going to the Chargers and beating them in Los Angeles to get to 8-4. Why am I talking about it that way? I think we got to be at 6 or 7 wins and then go 2-1. And these are conservative estimates here, to be honest with you. It's entirely possible that the Ravens offense under Todd Monken comes out and lights the world on fire, and the defense continues their great play from late in the year last season. There's people out there that are skeptics on the Ravens defense. For whatever reason. Maybe it's talent level. Maybe it's Mike McDonald. Maybe it's both of those things and more. There's people that are skeptical about the Ravens defense, but the numbers are what they are. From the time we acquired Roquan Smith, we were top 3 defense in the NFL. And we looked like a top 3 defense in the NFL against the Bengals on all 3 occasions. Really 2.5 occasions, the Week 5 win, the playoff loss up there, and then the regular season finale, the defense looked really good, I thought, except for 2 drives. But of course, you recall that we threw 3 interceptions in that game. We also gave up an offensive touchdown. And I think gave the Bengals a short field on another occasion, but I might be wrong there. After 12 games, if the Ravens are 8-4, I wouldn't be too dissatisfied. In my opinion, I think it's entirely possible that the Ravens are 9-3 if all things go well. Health, if the Ravens offense comes out firing, and the Ravens are able to be run, pass, efficient, and balanced. Lamar is executing with the wide receivers. Those guys are on the same page. Todd Monken is designing plays to get the ball in playmakers' hands, not relying on Lamar to be the sole playmaker, allowing Lamar to be the point guard for 3.5 quarters of the game and picking and choosing his spots where Lamar is going to run the ball. I love that Todd Monken said, hey, we're going to let him be who he is. But it was quite obvious to me. I did watch a little bit of the Todd Monken press conference. It was quite obvious to me that Todd Monken wasn't sitting there saying, we're going to run the ball with him 20 times and then expect him to throw it 38 times like every other NFL quarterback and execute all the things quarterbacks have to execute while asking him to be a primary ball carrier. And the game that I'm hearkening back to there is the Minnesota game in 2021 at home when I think the Ravens improved to 9-3. I may be wrong there, and then went down to Miami 4 days later, blew that game, played terrible against the Dolphins. Lamar was probably tired because he was overused, and I think Monken seems like a smart enough guy to not do that. And he has enough playmakers to let Lamar be a facilitator and a point guard. If all those things happen and the defense keeps their level of play up, I think you're talking about a team that could be 9-3 after 12 weeks. Health, concerns obviously being a factor, and then maybe 8-4 as a floor. 7-5 for me after this 12 game section here. These 3 sections that adds up to 12, I should say. 7-5 would be disappointing, even though I do think the schedule is way more difficult than 2022 for a lot of reasons. Anyway, I broke the schedule up for the first 12 games into those 3 sections. Let me know if you understand my rationale for that. If you agree with it or disagree, that's fine. And also, too, if you're looking forward to me breaking down the latter half of the schedule, part of this is projection, obviously, and my predictions could be wildly off base. The Ravens could be 10-2 after 12 games, or the Ravens could be 6-6, depending on injuries and many other factors. Appreciate you guys checking the video out. Let me know what you think of it in the comments section. If you're as excited as I am to get the Texans, Bengals, and Colts in that first section of the season, that first group that I put together, I think it's a great opportunity for the Ravens to start off 2-0 and possibly, put the league on notice if they're able to go into Cincinnati in week 2 and win, start off 3-0, and let people know that they're for real. Appreciate you guys' time. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy the content, please consider getting the link and sharing it on social media to help this video get more reach.